Welcome to Whimsically Wicked, a reading duet. My name is Daria, and I'm in the Wicked half.
And I'm Haley, and I'm the whimsical half.
Welcome to our Pride-themed episode.
Happy Pride.
Very happy Pride. Very excited for Pride. We still need to figure out events for that this
Yeah,
year.
are we doing anything for Pride?
We were on top last year when we did like the drag brunch and the burlesque and all that.
Oh, yes, that was so fun.
We've been really shitty about Pride this year.
Yeah, we.
Our lives have been so busy. We literally have no time to do anything, come to think of
No.
it.
And then we're in the playoffs for hockey, too.
Yeah.
Which this city, if y'all don't know anything about Edmonton, this city comes alive during playoffs.
It's been actually really cool because I'm from Vancouver. I'm born and raised a Vancouver Canucks fan, willing to be relatively converted for hockey season here. But most of my team at work lives in Vancouver and are Canucks fans, and I was describing the difference of playoffs here versus there of like I leave my back patio door open for the dog to go in and out. And every time a goal is scored, I shit you not, every human being in this neighborhood is outside screaming because they all have patio setups with TVs so they can watch outside and drink beer. And it is the coolest atmosphere I've ever experienced.
Yeah, well, and I live right downtown, and I can see the Rogers place from my balcony.
Oh, yeah.
And so I keep all of my windows open during playoffs, and somebody scores, I'm screaming, and I watch the games alone in my apartment. And my whole apartment building, you just hear random screams from everywhere in the building, and then down the street, you just hear all of the honking, and then you hear other people outside in their balconies just screaming, and everybody's got their windows open. It's really, really fun. And then for an hour after the game, just everybody's driving and honking and super excited, and you hear just like a random woo every once in a while. It's so fun.
Yeah, and for context, like I live deep into the burbs and
Yeah.
the atmosphere here is awesome. I'm so grateful we've made it to this far in the series so that I can experience it
Yeah.
for like
And
Stanley Cup finals. This plays so well into Pride Month because we were like, all right, reading but make it gay, and I fully jumped into that assignment exclusively in the sports romance world.
you have read so many hockey romances in the last 2 months. Like so many.
I counted. I think I'm at 20 something. And about half of those were gay.
Yeah, and I've hated reading in the last month and a bit. I really think that Brandon Sanderson is kind of destroying it for me a little bit because I loved The Way of Kings so much, but afterwards I was basically just depressed. I was like, nothing can stack up to this, and I know the other books are going to be even better, but also that was such a journey, and I'm so filled with ideas and theories and things like that. I've literally been living vicariously through other people reading.
Me. Haley and I were on the couch last night and I was just laughing my ass off at hockey books. And she was like, "What are you reading? Explain it to me."
Literally, I'm just messaging other people, Daria and one other person, about what they're reading, and I'm just living vicariously through you both. It's been a lot of fun because for you, you're reading books I've never read, and this other person is reading books that I have read. They're reading the Mistborn trilogy, and I'm just reliving it.
Mistborn trilogy is fun too because it starts an absolute snowball into the Cosmere from there. Like you can't stop.
No,
It's dangerous.
so dangerous, and I'm so excited to. I'm bringing them into my cult, my Cosmere universe cult.
As you should.
Yeah.
Everyone should read Cosmere.
He's in too. He's not getting out of it.
Oh no, he has my phone number now because Haley was being too mean and gatekeeping things and had too much power over his experience at the Cosmere. So he's like, "Give me Daria's number."
And he texted you too.
Yeah, we were texting like a decent amount last night, and then I haven't heard from him today, but I'm sure it's going great.
He's back to talking to me again, so
Okay.
I think
I'm
I've
the backup.
repaired the situation.
I can
Just
live
wait
with
till I
that.
piss him off again, though, and then it'll be
He'll
back
come
to
back.
you. It won't be long.
Just Haley's being mean. Here's my theory.
Whatever. I'll try to be nice.
Well, today's episode is a little bit all over the place. We're going to cover some things for Pride, some things for reading on a couple different spectrums. And as you can probably tell, we're theming this episode around sports. Because honestly, sports mood. It's the playoffs. All I've been doing is reading hockey romances while watching hockey games.
And
for
all
2
I've been
months.
doing is watching sports because I hate reading right now. But it's also really interesting because, like, I love sports. I love football. I love hockey. I love all of these things. You apparently enjoy reading them.
Yes.
And so we're going to kind of come together in this way.
So for today's episode, we will hit some topics around the real life of sports and being queer in them. We are also going to have a little fun game at the end, if you want to stick around for that one, where Haley is going to play Dark Romance Would You Rather, because I had a fun idea and we're rolling with it because it is hilarious. And shout out to all the girls that helped me build this.
I'm so nervous.
It's going to be a good time. Good time. For those of you who know anything about dark romances, we'll be hitting the Pucking Wrong series, the Cat and Mouse duet, Mindfuck, the Legacy of Gods, and some other fun books in that one.
And we'll have a bunch of links as well posted so that you can see where all of these things are coming from for the books, and we'll get those out there so you know where to find them.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's a whole Pride section too, because I have so many books in so many different genres that if you are a mood reader and you're looking for Pride, I've got you covered.
Yeah. And you tend to gravitate a little bit more to the male romances.
Yes.
I do read a little bit of sapphic romances. And so I have some recommendations there too.
Perfect. I do have my one sapphic romance that I would recommend to just about anyone, especially if they like high fantasy, is Priory of the Orange Tree. If you are ready to sit down and dive into something that is really difficult to read.
I didn't know Priory was sapphic.
Yeah.
Oh, I have it on my bookshelf. It's been on my TBR for a year. I did sit down to read it once, and I just think it wasn't the time and place. I think I got through 15 pages and put it down and never picked it up again. But I hear it's really good, and I didn't realize that it was sapphic because I like to go into blind.
I didn't either when I picked it up. It's a really good book. I will say it's one of the ones I had to do via audio, though, because I think the writing style would not be conducive to my dyslexia.
Oh, that's interesting. What's
It
the
is.
writing style like?
I would say it's more similar to almost Lord of the Rings.
I had a friend who just started Lord of the Rings, and he's obsessed with Lord of the Rings. He's the person that I send all of my Lord of the Rings memes to back and forth over Instagram. And so he had said, I've read The Hobbit, but I've never read Lord of the Rings. Can I borrow your copies? And I was like, yeah. And he texted me an hour later, and he was like, Tolkien is the friend who just tells a story in 25 minutes that could have been told in 5.
Yeah, that's what I call my ADHD friends. Yeah. There's a lot of you.
Okay, so you read a lot of male romances, not a lot of sapphic, but you've got into the sports romances this last month heavily.
Heavily.
You sent me one, and it just had a shirtless man on the cover, and you were like, "Have you read this?" And I was like, "I haven't touched it even a little bit.
Yeah.
That's not going to get me out of my reading slump." But you read it.
I did read it. That one was Trick Play by Eden Finley. And that is a football romance.
Ooh.
Which is why it was the one I sent to you, because I thought football would probably be a little bit easier for you to dive into than some of the other stuff. And I actually thought it was a really cool book in the respect that it covered an interesting topic that we haven't really seen in the sports world in real life that I'm aware of. I will preface that. I'm only really in hockey, not anywhere else. Of someone being outed against their will. Our main character is outed because he goes to a gay club, because everyone needs some kind of release at some point, and his thing is like he tries to go incognito like once every 6 months maybe, which I was like, don't know how you live like that, but that's you. And someone snaps a picture and posts it online, and he gets outed, and then he gets dropped from his team for other reasons. And it's kind of the story about how him and his PR team try to rehab his image, but also have him become like the poster boy for gay football players. And the way they do it is funny. They're like, okay, well, maybe people in the locker room will be less likely to think that you're like checking them out and hitting on them if you're in a committed relationship with someone and it's super public. So he gets like a fake boyfriend, and it's some guy who trying to piss off his dad who's a politician, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And it's a really cute story about how they end up falling in love through that process. But I thought it was an interesting kind of take on what would it look like if a sports player got outed against their will? How do you handle that? Like the intricacies involved. And then obviously It's a romance book, so we got a fake dating trope in there.
Totally. That's really interesting. And from my perspective, who has not read any of those sports romances, however, and honestly, I haven't read a sports romance, period, really, because I don't read romance, but I was not really able to find any areas in the NFL, the actual like the professional football league in the US. I wasn't able to find any instances where they did get outed against their will, but there have been so few openly gay NFL players. In history, they've been playing for about 100 years. Take a guess at how many football players have come out.
I'm going to say less than 5.
Okay, it's more,
Oh,
but not while they were playing.
okay. Which is a choice I am very sad they have to make, but respect the fact that, like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you had to hold out a very long time to live your life as yourself for the sake of the game you love.
Yeah. So the number of men who have come out in the NFL after they retired is 16,
Okay.
which is in 100 years.
A statistically unlikely number based on
Very,
how
very
small
low.
it is.
Very, very low. The first openly gay player in the NFL who was playing at the time he came out was Carl Nassib. And he came out in 2021, 3 years ago.
That is insane.
Yeah, he was playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. The general sentiment is that he was welcomed overall, but I think the society view of that and what it's like internally with sports teams is probably a very, very different experience.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's definitely one of the narratives a lot of the books I read kind of tackled too, of especially in the Game Changer series. The last book is called The Long Game, and it tackles that subject of the internal feeling around it and then the external narrative that gets sent. So for that one, they have like a meeting with the commissioner of the NHL, and he's like, "We love Pride, we support our players, but I heard this rumor and I would like it to stay a rumor," to one of the guys. And it was like that whole piece of publicly, yes, we support this 100%. There's going to be Pride nights, there's going to be merch, there's going to be all this stuff. But on the back end, it was we want hockey to stay hockey, and your drama is taking away from that, and it is not okay. And I wonder how much of that actually happens in real life, and I feel like it's a lot more than I would like it to be.
Yeah, and I think this is true for NFL and hockey because both of these sports have this masculine energy to them. We both grew up in little hockey cities and things like that. My dad was a coach, my brother played. Locker room talk, the talk that's on the ice, that stuff is inherently homophobic
Absolutely.
all of the time. And that internal struggle of being in the locker room with the guys and talking about these things, being naked in front of each other, I think about the homophobia that happens in those internal within the teams, within the environment that you're in, that makes it so hostile to come out. Because even if that team is super accepting, then what happens to all those comments? Are people actually going to become more aware of the things that they're saying to each other and the way that they're acting around each other? I don't know that that is the case. And that is maybe a large reason why more people have not become openly gay in those communities.
I feel like probably it is. Like, we can lip read while you're on the ice, my dude. I know what that 3-letter word you just said was, whether or not that mic picked it up.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell.
Yeah.
And that part is really sad to see. And, like, I know there's quite a few massive advocates in the NHL for allyship. Like, recently, there was the whole Pride tape thing, which did not last long for the NHL when they tried to ban the Pride tape, and those players were not having that. And they took the fines, and they're like, no, we're going to keep using it.
Yes.
Because that's who we support, that's who our families are, and you're not going to take that away. And the NHL ended up walking that back real quick.
Really quick. It was bad when they tried to pull that back. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, stuff like that. Like, it's you take one step forward and two steps back
Hmm.
all the time in that space.
With the NHL, there's only one openly gay person.
Oh yeah.
And that happened in 2021 as well. Yes, 2021. And it was Luke Prokop.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 19 when he came out. He wasn't actually a professional hockey player at the time. And he had said in some interviews that when he did come out, he was really battling between this: do I come out and risk what that might mean for my career? Because I don't know that I get drafted after that. I don't know if that impacts the way that I'm going to be brought into this league. Or do I not come out and not play hockey? And ultimately, he made the decision that if it comes down between me being myself and being able to be out or not playing hockey, I won't play hockey. That's just the way it is, and I will find something else to do with my life. I'm going to like be authentically me, and he made that decision. And after that happened, yeah, he got drafted to the Predators. He's playing for their AHL team. He's not on the NHL roster right now, but he's there. And he had gotten a lot of positive text messages from other players in the league. But I think that comes right back to this conversation of those players who text him and say, "Hey, I want to congratulate you. I'm really proud of you. We accept you, XYZ." Are they turning around and saying those same things in the locker room? Are they changing their actual behavior? Like, I'm curious about if that change is actually happening on the ice or on the field, and when they're in the locker rooms and when they're engaging with others, because it is such a mob mentality in those spaces.
Yes. And I I want to give the romance books in this space I read so much credit for how they
Mm,
handled these. I think one of the big things, and again, I'm going to go back to the Game Changer series by Rachel Reed on this one because
okay.
holy shit was it good.
Yeah.
And I'm not even done. I still have one book to read, but I'm going to keep saying its praises because I'm sure that one's phenomenal too. Where like the first book tackles that thing of being the first guy that comes out. He chooses to. He like kisses his boyfriend on the ice kind of thing after a big game.
Oh, wow. Are
And
they on the same team?
no, his like they win the Stanley Cup and there's the family portion when they all get to come down to the ice.
Okay,
And like
cute.
he does his interviews, turns over and makes out with his boyfriend. I was like, that's adorable. I would like an NHL player to come out that way. That would be so much fun. I'd buy that jersey in a heartbeat.
Doing this podcast with you is making my heart like not okay. Uh
Oh,
I
it's gonna
don't
get
like
worse from here.
romance. I do not like romance.
Yeah, and that's the first book in the series, and he comes out, and then from there it kind of snowballs because you get to experience the aftermath of that with more of the queer players in the NHL. Same universe, all the books take place with an overlapping cast of characters, but you can read them independently.
This was the book you were reading last night and I was asking you about.
Yeah, that was the last one in the
And you
series.
stayed up until 4:30 a.m. reading it
Yeah,
and
the
didn't
sun was
notice.
out. And I was like, oh, I need to go to bed, but I was like, well, I might as well finish this book now. We're in too deep. A lot of caffeine has been consumed to make this possible today. The second book in that series, they're both players who have had a thing going since World Juniors. One of them is like Team Rush, like it is Russian, so he played for Team Russia, and then one of them is Canadian. He played for Team Canada. I will also shout out this book because one of the male main characters is half Japanese, and we stand some representation of people of color in hockey as well.
Yeah, that's
Because that's an
few
ongoing
and far
thing,
between.
especially Asian ones.
Yeah.
Like they've been rivals since the day they hit the international hockey world, and
Well,
they started.
enemies to lovers,
Oh yeah,
book trope
like hardcore enemies to
in a
lovers,
sports romance.
and they keep this
Ooh.
thing going 10 years under the radar. But it was an interesting thing to see them like you in their book. You see that moment where the character from the first book kisses his boyfriend on TV after winning the Stanley Cup, and then they're calling each other, being like, "Holy shit, it's changing." And then it kind of spirals from there. Like the third book is another defenseman in a different team who chooses then to just be openly gay. He comes out. He has his whole thing going with his beautiful boyfriend. And then the fifth book is a retired goalie who comes out right after he retires. And then there's that kind of discovering yourself after you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And the fifth book is a character who chooses to come out while being an active player, But he's interesting because it goes to that like locker room talk
Yep.
of being one of the guys who hid behind it,
Ah.
who is actively homophobic, knowing full
Mhm.
well the entire time he is very much so gay.
So the more that I put into the existence that I am homophobic and I don't support this, the less they will suspect me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was on a super toxic team. This book actually covers a really cool topic of also standing up against another member of the NHL for sexual assault. So one of the guys
Mm.
has like 5+ anonymous allegations that come out on like I think it's basically Reddit, and he calls them out in a practice and calls it as it is.
Right.
Someone leaks a video of that, and he gets dropped from his team,
Well.
and he gets moved over to another team that's much more family oriented, very supportive, and he like kind of comes out through that process. But it is the shift of like maybe some teams are worse than others too.
I would imagine so. And in these two sports, and I do not have statistics on this whatsoever, but the owners of the sports teams are old money for the
Oh
most
yeah.
part. And you know what? I'll even throw baseball into this mix. Like, there are so much money in the sports. The chances are of women or people of color or people in general owning these organizations is very low. They are all old, often conservative men who own these leagues.
And in a lot of cases, less than legally.
Very much so. The people who lead you are the people who are driving the culture on those teams. And it is such an old man's club in these sports leagues that culture has been there for so long, and it is very very difficult to change, and you really have to go against the grain. And the reality is even one person in both of these leagues coming out has not made a difference, because both of these players came out in 2021 and there still hasn't been another one since that has come out during their time playing. That is crazy, because you would think that it would almost butterfly effect.
Yeah, it would open the door.
It would open the door, somebody else would feel safe, because you see Carl Nassib or Luke Prokop come out and you see them succeed in their leagues and be welcomed with open arms. What is happening that these players still don't feel safe to do it? That's my question.
Yeah. And statistically, 10% of them, give or take, are probably gay or somewhere on a queer spectrum.
Yeah.
And there's a very good chance your favorite NHL player is hiding behind his wife, who's probably very much so in the know. Hell, if some guy was like, hey, I need you to be my beard, I'd be like, sure, let's go.
I mean, yeah, there's a level of money there that I would be willing to do
Yeah.
that.
You're gonna bankroll my vacations, honey? Absolutely. I can kiss you in public for the cameras.
But I am curious about how much that happens. And it's so sad that it still happens in these sports. Like, these statistics speak for themselves. It's not like football players just aren't gay. That's not what's happening
Yeah,
here.
that's not it. It would definitely I think it's definitely a culture thing where something happening in the back end of all of these leagues
Mhm.
is preventing people from actually feeling safe.
Yeah.
There's a communication happening, someone is saying something, and they don't want to do it.
Yeah. I will call out one individual, Jerry Smith, his name is, and he played football. He was a tight end in Washington from 1965 to 1977. And the NFL Network created a documentary. He came out after his seasons ended, he retired. And he actually opened a gay bar. After retiring, he became the co owner of The Boathouse, which is a gay bar in Austin, Texas. And it was later confirmed that he had been romantically involved with a former teammate of the Washington team, Dave Copay, who's also one of the NFL players who came out after they retired. And Jerry Smith died of HIV complications in 1986, and he was only 43. There is a documentary. It's called A Football Life. I haven't gotten the chance to watch it, but it's definitely something that I'll be checking out. And it's just I'm so curious about that story.
Yes. Yeah. And the ability to like Because that's the potential too. Is like your boyfriend's on another team than you. Your boyfriend's on the same team as you. How do you navigate that? Do the leagues start making new rules around it? Can they make new rules around it? Would anyone actually accept that?
It's such a can of worms to open. And I even think this was in the 1960s, 1970s. The chances of them getting outed is so low.
Yeah, there's no cell phone cameras.
They're not on camera 24/7. Nowadays, that is the case. And I wonder if it has almost had a worse impact on these types of things because in 1970s, at least they could sneak around if they didn't feel comfortable coming out. Nowadays, that is so not possible. You can't do that. People will see, and when you have that many eyes on you, it will come out. So is it actually causing people to hide more than they did 50 years ago?
Yeah, and that hiding, like that is just so detrimental to your mental health, to your overall health. Like if you're a sexually active adult who likes sex, like that's difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine it would make it so much worse.
Yeah. It is so interesting that authors are diving into that side of sports. It's such an important conversation. It's devastating to think that people are not able to be themselves while they're also playing their profession, making all this money, doing something that they love, and not being able to fully show up as themselves.
I fully agree. And I think it's overall, and I will always sing the praises and the impact of romance on the world because it is the largest genre of reading. The more authors write about it and the more other people like us can promote them and get more people to read them and make these narratives more mainstream, the better we all are for it.
Yeah.
One step in the right direction of it won't be surprising when that hockey player comes out because we've read about it so many times, or we've hoped that people would start feeling comfortable enough to do it based on the fanciful things that we've read about what that would look like and being able to actually help someone do it and support them
Yeah.
in the real world rather than just through the little romance books.
Yeah. And ultimately we have to be the change, and the change needs to come from those internal practices and cultures.
Absolutely.
But I mean, in Canada, we are so close to it because we have professional sports teams in the cities that we live in and things like that. And we know people and all of that. Little interactions that you have on a day to day basis with people who watch sports or people who play sports and things like that. I think about my community, and I have so many friends who I watch football with. I play fantasy football in a group of 9 different men who are all like straight and married with kids and things like that. And my interaction with them also has an influence on the way that they see the world and see these sports. And I really enjoy getting into those conversations with those people who are willing to have that conversation with me. They're willing to ask questions. And I just think about those little pieces of moments that you get to make a difference in, even though it's not changing the whole system and it might never. Those little conversations, I like to think, make little differences.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what will make those changes feel realistic for people is the backing of the fans. Because at the end of the day, this is a business. Like, yeah, you love your sport and that's great. But at the end of the day, you're working for a business that's here to make money, and they make money based on the rest of us. So if the rest of us are out here being like, yeah, let's go, let's support them. That jersey, that's the player whose jersey I'm buying from now on, or I'll be supporting them and the charities and all of that, then that'll really help force a change in a lot of narratives because money talks.
Yeah.
And I will most definitely be talking with my wallet any chance I get for this.
Fair enough. You've got special editions of all these books coming in.
I do. The Game Changer series had 3 books available in paperback, and I ordered all of them this morning. They will be here tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
And if an Oiler wanted to come out, that would be the jersey I wore.
Yeah.
Hands down. Bonus points if you release it in rainbow at some point. I'll buy all the versions. All of it.
So pretty. As we're not wearing anything rainbow.
Well, there's a couple colors on mine. They're mostly red.
Yeah. I went for the bisexual look today.
Yes, yes.
These pants scream bisexual. Yeah. This is the only piece of clothing that really that I have that really shows my sexuality.
Yeah. Well, Well, given where both of us buy all of our clothing from, there's not a lot of options. If you want to buy the Pride collection, and it's not exactly available in fun colors that I
Yeah, they
would
didn't do a
wear.
great job this year.
Yeah, white and hot pink are just not my vibe.
I can't pull off pink.
I I'm not responsible enough to wear white.
I've been testing my luck with white a little bit too much lately, and so now all of my white clothing has stains on it because I'm not the type of person who should be testing her luck.
Eh,
In this podcast alone, I've almost spilled my coffee like 4 times.
yeah, white clothing is dangerous. Why do we have to release a special edition clothing in white every single time? I own a special edition white sweater, and I use it for painting because I
Mm.
ruined it almost immediately, and it's like, well, it'll look more fun with more paint on it now.
Make your own pride clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely did tie-dye one year. That was fun. I'm just so Daria and I were just talking a little bit before this about seeing if we could, find some ways to support professional sports and how they're approaching pride and things like that. And I Googled, like, started to Google and research about like what kind of charities I could find. So my Google search was NHL Pride charities. The first thing that comes up is NHL.com.
Oh, is it the? I saw
And
this.
it says Celebrate Pride Month.
Then
And
literally nothing.
underneath it, it says no information is available for this page.
I saw it earlier today when I was researching too, and I was like, I'm too depressed to even click on it. Like
I can't.
I was like, oh cool, thanks NHL. It's Pride Month, and your Pride page has literally nothing on it.
You know what I actually find so interesting about this conversation too is that while we can talk about this gender situation when it comes to men and women, and the way that they get paid and everything like that, this year has been such a monumental year for women in sports. Like the PWHL
I
has
think,
blown up a little bit this year, and so has the WNBA.
yeah,
We've had so much success for women in sports when it comes to that pay, but this is the one area that women's sports just crushes the men. Like, hockey is historically one of the highest rated for gay women. Like, there's so many gay women that are out playing hockey, rugby, football, golf. Like, this has actually been almost the total opposite issue for
yeah,
women professional sports.
definitely see that, and that probably goes back to the locker room talk. I don't know that the women are in there saying derogatory terms about being a lesbian or a gay woman or a gay person in general.
Yeah.
Well, they get changed.
Yeah, and it is weird though because the external factors are more of a factor for women because growing up, if you played rugby, you were a dyke. If
Oh yeah.
you played hockey, oh, you were obviously gay, ringette, those types of things. That was actually one of the things that made me not play rugby because the one sport that I always regret not playing in high school is rugby. I always wish that I did, but I remember those terms being used for the women who played rugby, and this was also at a time that I was not super in tune with my sexuality. I remember having questioned it during that time and being attracted to women, but I never accepted it and I never went that direction. And I think there was a lot of subconscious actions that I took to make sure that people wouldn't suspect me, and that was one of them. So there's a lot more external factors, I think, when it comes to women in sports.
Yeah, I'd agree. I didn't play sports. I was
You
not
didn't.
I was not a sports child. I will read about them and I will watch them. I will not play them. Honestly, the rugby girls scared me in high school. They were a lot. Mostly because one of them always had a broken bone of some kind, and I've had to watch them get heli lifted off of our field so many times. Because we lived in a shitty small town with like a subpar hospital at that point in time, and they have to be airlifted to a bigger city.
Oh my God.
And that happened so often. The rugby players scared me. I respected those women.
Yeah.
But yeah, high school, I don't know about, actually no, I take that back. I know quite a few girls who came out after high school, and so many boys, including one of my best friends, who I like we just let the world think we were dating in high school because it was easier for him.
Yeah. That sucks.
I did get a lot of free movies out of that deal though. His mom would pay for said dates, and we would just go watch horror movies together.
Aw.
Hence the sweater. If you're online, it says Friends, but it's just horror movie icons.
Yeah, I was so interested when I first saw that because I don't know any of the characters in that because I do not watch horror movies. I think I see it. And
We've got Scream, we've got Jason, we've got Chucky, we've got Mike Myers, we've got Jigsaw, Freddy, It, and Hellraiser.
I hate horror movies. I can't do them. But I saw that and I got really offended almost because I was like, what does that have to do with Friends? You've never even watched Friends. You don't even like it.
The irony of the sweater.
I'm going to be so real with you. There's not much.
That's so sad.
Like looking at this, there's a few websites that share some charities and things like that. And if you are listening to this and you have any really good recommendations, please send us them because I would be really open to trying to
Promoting.
promote
Yeah.
some of these charities. I found a few websites, but what I don't feel comfortable doing is just saying that they're doing a lot of good work without actually deep diving into them because I also feel that a lot of organizations just put the rainbow on the logo. They put the clothes out or they do the merch.
The performative actions
Yeah,
to be an ally.
and oftentimes that is not followed up and I am more skeptical of that happening in these sports leagues. So I want to do some research and I want to see if we can find any. If you are listening and you know of any really good charities or organizations that support the LGBTQ community in any sort of way, please send them over to us and we will make sure to link them.
Yes, please do. From there, we have a different kind of rabbit hole to dive down
And
because
it's still going to be about
it
romance.
sure is.
Which is totally my fault because if I didn't hate reading, maybe I would have more books to talk about
I
that I
know.
like. But for that reason, I get to go through this. This is my punishment.
You didn't read enough books in May and the beginning of June, and therefore we were playing Dark Romance Would You Rather. Because this idea popped into my brain. I know. I'm pretty sure I stole this idea from my friend Jackie, who thought it would be really funny. And I was like, cool, cool. We're making that a podcast episode. I will let you know which one of these Jackie sent me at the end as the Would You Rather that sparked all of this. But we're going to dive in. Haylee has to mentally prep a little bit. These are good. These are so good. If you're a dark romance girl, you're going to have a great time.
I
If you're
need a
not,
drink.
you're going to still enjoy this because it's really funny. All right. Our first Would You Rather, and this is one you're really familiar with. Would you rather a guy who implants a GPS tracker via your birth control or a guy who pokes holes in your condoms with the intention of getting you pregnant?
What? I have only heard of that happening the other way around. Like, the whole Drake situation when, like, all the different ways he's made sure to not get women pregnant.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it going, okay, so would you rather the GPS or the poking holes in condoms?
You don't get to consent to either of these. Either like they happen to you, but you don't know it's happening.
Logically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's think about this logically. So if I have another form of birth control,
Yeah.
then I could get out of the pregnancy. Do I know this man? Like, what are the risks for STIs?
He's an NHL player, so it's 0 because they get tested a lot.
Right. And then like sharing your location if it's somebody that you trust, like I share my location on my phone with all of you.
Yes.
With that being said, I don't know that I trust this man just off the information that I have.
Yeah.
So
Fair.
I'm going to go poke holes in the condom
Okay.
because I think we're also a little bit different. Like, I would like to be a mom someday.
that
For
starting
you, that's the worst nightmare.
Yeah, I take the GPS tracker, no questions asked. You can know exactly where I am at any given time. I will not be raising your child.
Because I might raise the child.
Also, it would be an NHL player who, in this fictional world, is like top tier defenseman.
Yeah, so at this point in my life,
Win.
I think I would be okay with that part more so than the GPS tracker.
That's fair. I was actually really curious what you would pick, but given your GPS track record so far, I kind of thought it would be that one. All right, our next one. This one is sex toy themed. They are not normal sex toys. Would you rather a gun or would you rather a screwdriver?
loaded? Is the safety on?
You don't know. That's part of the fun of it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's part of the fun.
That's part of the fun.
It's like Russian roulette
with your vagina.
in my vagina.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, you don't trust him at all. You don't know him, actually. This is your
I
first
don't
time
know.
meeting. It's okay, the other one's your adoptive brother, so.
I'm leaving. Fuck, man.
Anyway.
Sorry, did you say adoptive brother? I think that just glazed over.
Yeah,
Excuse me? Which one's the adoptive brother? The screwdriver?
The screwdriver. They're a little bit older when they're adopted. It's
Okay.
not like small children were raised together. It was more like teenagers.
Right.
Older adolescents.
That makes it better. Okay. So, logically, okay. A gun that we don't know if the safety is on. I did not consent to it, and I don't know him.
You don't consent to the screwdriver either, for the record.
Screwdriver, also don't consent to it. We don't know if it's on or the battery is charged.
It's like a regular ass, like, handheld screwdriver.
That, I think, makes it better because there's no power involved.
Yeah, no.
But those things can be sharp, but a gun is still worse, let's be real.
Yeah.
Now, I have issues with the adoptive brother.
That's fair.
I do have a friend who lost his virginity to his stepsister, though. I don't know if you knew that about me. I've never told you that. That's real life.
Credence? What?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I think we have to go with this screwdriver.
Oh my god.
There's no power tools involved. And I mean, okay, so like the gun freaks me out for so many reasons, but
We're also Canadian and guns just aren't a normal part of our lives in any way, shape, or form.
but listen, if you clean the screwdriver, it could be like a cold because it's metal.
Oh yeah.
Which I like cold.
Okay.
And at least this is someone you trust and know, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. There's the other dude you don't know. He's just broken into your house.
I feel worse about doing this from a logical perspective because I'm almost trying to convince myself that any of it's okay. And I hate that.
Some of these go to places that are actually kind of fun. I'll give you that much.
Great. Yeah, looking forward to it.
You have more to look forward to. Our next one. This is the gift themed one. Would you rather be gifted the hands of a man that touched you and you didn't enjoy it, or a for you to satiate your serial killer compulsions?
The hands of somebody that touched me that I didn't want them to touch me.
Yeah, it wasn't like a whole like assault thing. He just like manhandled you on the dance floor.
Okay.
Theoretically.
Or sorry, you need to repeat that second one.
Who got away with it because the law wasn't able to convict him. His dad had diplomatic immunity. For you to kill to satiate your serial killer compulsion.
Oh, so I'm a serial killer and he gifted me something that I would enjoy murdering. Ooh.
Who definitely deserve to be murdered. That's
right,
your MO,
of course.
too.
Yeah. But listen, he kind of knows her. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, it's cute.
Yeah, like it's...
it was one of those moments reading where I was like, that's adorable, and it shouldn't be. But it's their yearly anniversary present.
Yeah, see, okay. You know when, like, somebody gives you something and they really need to know you in order to know that you would like that present?
Yeah.
That feels so good.
It does.
It feels so good. And I am a little hyper independent. So I think I would prefer somebody to give me something that I can do versus like they did it for me, they protected me, and then just gave me the hands. Like, give me the person to cut their hands off, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think I would prefer the second one in that scenario.
Yeah, same, honestly. Also because that book was, in my opinion, better. And the Dark Romance girls will come for me, but that's fine. All right, this one is sex positions.
Ooh.
Would you rather have sex while basically being drowned, or would you rather be held over the edge of a cliff?
You got me all excited for fun sex position.
And then I ruined it immediately.
I have to like fantasize on the podcast. This is weird. Okay.
There are also active sharks in the water, for the record.
Is there anything else I should know about the cliff before? Maybe that like I would fall to a million spikes.
He's definitely not going to drop you, but it might not be fully consensual. Granted, the drowning one also not really consensual either. So
How do you do it when you're hanging someone over a cliff? Like, I need to know the mechanics here. The drowning, I can understand how that might work, but over a cliff? Whose book is that? I know the characters. Whose book is that?
Killian and Gil.
Oh, I knew I didn't want to know the answer to it, and I asked anyways.
This shouldn't be shocking, though.
No, it's not. I just knew I didn't want the answer to it, and I asked anyways. That is too early on in the book for that to happen. You are looking at it you are looking at the first 50 pages. Are you fucking kidding me right now?
I'm pretty sure it's the first. Is it the first chapter? I'm not wearing my glasses right now, so seeing this is a little difficult. Oh no, it's definitely here.
I don't know if you're not watching this on the screen. She's on page like maybe 20.
Oh no, I'm on page 6.
Oh my fucking god.
I don't know how he does it exactly.
I'm trying to think. I think I have a thing with heights, but I don't know that I would be able to enjoy myself when I can't breathe. Like, oh man, I don't know. Water drowning really freaks me out, but like choking, sure. But drowning really freaks me out.
The cliff involves choking. I remember that much.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
helps.
it's like, because I don't think it's like penetrative. If I remember correctly, it's more of a like blowjob off the edge of a cliff situation. So it's behind you, but you can feel the fact that there is no ground underneath half your body.
I'm gonna choose the cliff, and I'm not gonna
explain it.
I'm not gonna explain it.
It's okay. I'd also choose the cliff, because my greatest fear, other than dying in a car accident, is drowning, and deep water freaks me out a lot.
Fair.
Oh, this one's my favorite one. This one is dick decorations.
How many of those can there be?
Well, the Pucking Wrong series has 3 books so far, so there are 3. For context, in this series, each of the guys that's the main character in one of the books has something a little special he's done for his lady friend to his dick. So here are your options. Would you rather have your name tattooed on his dick? Would you rather have your wedding ring pierced through his dick? Or have your name spelled out via piercings, T-Swift friendship bracelet style?
Around.
I think it's like a Jacob's ladder. But
you are acting as if I know what that means.
It is multiple piercings down the bottom of the dick that are bars. And then the ends of the bars would be like the beads.
Got it. Yeah, that's super cool. Totally. Definitely something I'm super familiar with. Okay. So Taylor Swift styled, wedding ring or name tattooed. You know what? This is actually an easy one for me. Wedding ring, because I know that I would lose that shit so quickly. We might as well have it somewhere safe.
That's not a bad one, actually. I'm going for the Jacob's Ladder because that one is the all-time dream of mine to experience.
Oh.
The T-Swift part I care less about because I'm not a Swiftie. She's great with her music. I'm not bashing her. I just, not my thing. Please don't come for me. But the Jacob's Ladder is most definitely my thing.
Okay. Well, No, we just might as well have the wedding ring somewhere safe.
Also, he's an NHL player, so he can't wear it on the ice, and like now it will be with him on the ice.
I feel like I've learned so much about you since we started this.
Yeah, there's a lot. People from work watch this, so that's fun. All right, we have one last one, and this is another sex-related one, but it's more like on the kink side of things. So this is, would you rather be chased in the dark by someone in a mask until he catches you and you have sex? Or would you rather have the guy watch you through your window as you get yourself off, and then you leave and he leaves a little gift in your underwear that you don't know about, then you proceed to put back on?
The gift is the what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Okay. Chased or I don't like this, like the stalker thing creeps me out. I don't like the watching me unless I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
If I'm aware of it, then that's a different conversation. But when I'm not aware of it and it's like a stalker thing and you're just like, I don't like the thought of being watched when I don't know that I'm being watched.
Okay, fair.
Being chased down also sounds really awful. I don't like either of these. Just to be super clear about this whole situation, all of the options I would not consent to. I am just trying to play the game because I know I don't have other options. Let me just be really clear about that. But I think I would have to choose the being chased if it's the one or the other.
Good choice.
Thanks.
Being chased is also mine, but that is something I have done. So.
Sorry, what?
Well, not an unknown human being, obviously.
Okay. Was it fun?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's a big adrenaline, especially for me who like does not partake in physical.
I was gonna say, I was
activity. It wasn't a long chase. Don't get me wrong. You didn't have to work that hard.
I'm surprised you were excited to run. This is how we get Daria to run an
exercise. You need to be wearing a mask, and there has to be the promise of something fun at the end. Happy ending to my run.
You need a reward.
Yeah. My Tinder profile used to say we'll hike for bribes, and it did not specify what the bribes were. It was technically donuts, but I would have taken this too. Happily. All right. Well, that is a wrap on our June Pride episode and a wrap on Pride Month from us. You'll see us again in 2 weeks while we jump into our July episodes.
And thankfully also a wrap on that horrific Would You Rather game.
That brought me so much joy.
I am going to get you back though, because my wheels are turning on some things that I can give you for fun.
Is it the swords and the dicks one?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot wait for the swords and the dicks one. We're not going to elaborate on what that is any further, but I'm so excited for swords and dicks. Thank you for joining us for this episode. I know this one went in a lot of fun and very weird places, and we also had some really heavy conversations around the world of sports and our queer friends who live their lives in secret and in the open in that world.
Keep an eye open for some links as we get all of the books that we discussed in this episode up on our social media pages, as well as if we can find any like really good charities or things like that. Thanks so much for listening. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.